Let's go, girls.
Just tell me that I can and show you things that you couldn't believe.
Yo, let's go. It's Women Talking Football, or WTF for short. Of course, never to be confused with WFT. My name is Mallory Hartley. I'm the associate producer here at Dave Campbell's Texas Football and Dave Campbell's Texan Live. Once again, sitting in the host chair, hosting my favorite show. Sorry, Republic of Football, but this one takes the cake on that one. And sitting over there, turning the dials, it's the AP to my AP, Ashley Pickle.
Yo,
Hey.
howdy. Welcome back. Happy 2024.
Happy 2024. That sounds so weird to say, I feel like, because you get so used to saying, obviously, 2023, and the first couple of times you say 2024, it's just kind of like, oh, that doesn't sound right. I don't like that. But
Yeah, they just keep going faster and
they
faster.
they really do, man. That's none but the truth there. We're an internet show. We're here every Thursday talking football around the Lone Star State, and this is episode 58 of Women Talking Football. And on today's show, friends, we're going to take a look back at the month of December, because it seems like everything went on during the month of December. UIL State Championships, bowl games, exciting life events that we should talk about. So much happened during the month of December. But before we get into, the football stuff, there's some exciting life events that happened in the Hartley Pickle household. Would you like to take the floor on this one?
Ava got a dress. Is that what you're talking
Ava got a
about?
dress. She sure
Ava's
did.
our cat. Ava got a dress. We had a Christmas tree. That's got to be it, right? Yeah, no.
Ah,
Yay.
my gosh. I'm so excited. Oh, my gosh. Okay. Tell the people the story.
So if you already heard it on TFT, I apologize. But
Who cares? It needs to be told more than once.
I had Cotton Bowl practice on December 28th, in the Ag, the home of Mallory Hartley. And my then, at the time, boyfriend, Brian, said, hey, why don't we go get dinner in Fort Worth tonight? It was going to be our last night without something to do, because we had Cotton Bowl the next night. Your day of birth was the next night.
Correct.
New Year's Eve is the latter night. And then it was like, okay, well, let's go out to dinner. So I said, okay, great. So he picked me up from Cotton Bowl practice, and we went out to downtown Fort Worth. He said our dinner reservations were at 6:30. We had a little bit of time left. We got down there about 5:30. So we went and grabbed a drink beforehand, and then right around 6:05, he said, all right, let's go ahead and walk over, and we'll stop and look at the Christmas tree that's on Sundance Square, which is a massive Christmas tree.
Absolutely beautiful.
We were told that it's the second largest tree in the U.S. behind the Rockefeller tree. I don't know
way.
how true that is, but I do know for a fact, straight from the mayor's office, that it is the biggest one that they've ever had in Fort Worth. So, I mean,
Really?
it was
Okay.
gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And so we walk up, and we're clearly looking for like a spot to stop and take a picture. And so this random lady goes, hey, would y'all like someone to take your picture? And we were like, yeah, thank you so much. So she takes the picture on the phone, hands it back, and she's like, let me know how it looks. So I'm looking at it, and then all of a sudden this massive flash goes off, and I was like, oh my. And I look up, and there's a lady with a professional camera pointed directly at me. And so then I look down, and my now fiance, Brian, is on one knee, and it was great.
How weird is it to say fiance instead of boyfriend now?
It's still weird. I don't
Yeah.
know. I haven't had the opportunity yet to like introduce him to
Right.
someone as this is my fiance, Brian. So I feel like that's when it's going to be weird. That's when
Right.
I'll like catch myself not saying the right thing. As of now, that hasn't happened, because it's just like when I'm talking about it, I'm telling the story.
Right.
So that was that was all the fun, great part of it. There's two funny parts of it and this is really where you come into play, and you can tell your side of the story.
I would love to tell my side of the story. I feel like I was just as important in this engagement as you were.
Yes.
Totally kidding. Not true at all.
Well, actually, you were, because you knew for a long time it was coming, and I didn't.
I did know for
I just
quite
showed
a
up.
while that it was going to happen. Brian, your fiance, so weird,
That is weird to say.
texted me. Oh gosh, this was the Tuesday before state championships. That was the day that we all headed down to AT&T Stadium to get everything set up so we didn't have to do it the morning of the first day of the first game. And he texted me, said, "Hey, are you at home?" And I was like, "No, I'm actually out shopping. I'm in Denton. Are you here? Like, do you need a key to get in? Like, I'll drive back and help you if you need to get in."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, no. I just needed help with something." And I was like, "Well, I can probably still help you."
Yeah.
And then the next thing that came through was, "I need to confirm Ashley's ring size." And I said, "Oh boy, I could do that. So
Except you couldn't.
I couldn't, but I thought I could. I raced back home, checked all of your rings to see if they had a size on them. Of course they didn't. But that night, when you were out of your room, I walked in and looked at your other rings that you wear every day. Still no size, but I think I knew which size you were. So I texted Brian back. I said, "Hey, I'm pretty sure I know what size she is, but let's just, obviously you can get it resized if you need to." And then after that I said, "Obviously you're planning on proposing. Mm-hmm. Will you let me know when?" And he said, "Oh, absolutely. Like, I'm only going to tell you.
Yeah.
You're the only one that knows." And I was like, fabulous. That's great. So I knew for about 3 weeks before the actual engagement took place. And the week leading up to the engagement, I did not talk to you.
No, I thought you were mad at me. Like, I thought I did something at the end of state championships or said something, or I don't know. I thought you were pissed at me. Like, honestly, because Mallory's birthday was the 30th. So that's coming up.
Right.
We know that we had talked about things that we possibly wanted to do for your birthday, but I had never heard any confirmation. And so I had our friends asking me, "Hey, what's the plan for Mallory? Like, does she know anything? Are we still doing what we had talked about doing?" And I tried to FaceTime Mallory. Instantly denied. Tried to text Mallory multiple times, wouldn't respond for like almost 24 hours, and then it was like just one response, and then if I tried to carry on the conversation, wasn't going to happen. I was like, no. I don't know what I did or why she's mad at me.
No, and I am very good at keeping secrets. Like, I just am. But this was a big enough secret to where I didn't want to give any sort of hint that could give it away, because this is such a I knew how special obviously this is for you, and you wanted it to be a surprise. So I was like, you know what, the safe thing to do is just to ignore you for a whole week. So that's what I did
until the day of the engagement. And I was in Arlington, and so I had sent her a picture. There was a gas station that straight up ran out of gas. There was no gas. And
Classic ag.
Yeah, all they did was put up 2 sheets of paper that just said "no gas," and then it said on the bottom right-hand corner, it just said "sorry." And I was like, this is the most ag thing that I've ever seen. And so I sent it to Mallory, and so she asked, she was like, "Oh, what are you doing tonight?" And I was like, okay, that seems like a normal question, because I was in the exact same town that you were in. I was about 5 minutes from your parents' house, which you were at. And I was like, I wonder if she's going to go ask if like we want to get dinner or something like that. I was like, "Oh, hey, we're going to dinner." And she said, "Great." So I guess Brian had let Mallory know that it was going to happen around 6 o'clock, because he was a great guy and he hired a photographer. So that's the time that the photographer was going to get there, around 5:45. It was cold outside. He didn't want her standing out there for too long. So he was like, "Hey, it's going to happen at 6. So I have the timestamp. I think when I texted you, it was 5:54.
5:56.
5:56? Okay, I tweeted that out fast then. I guess I had the tweet ready to go. When we were sitting there at the bar, Brian went to either go get the drinks or I think he went to go close out the tab. And so I was just sitting there. So I hopped on Twitter real fast, as one does. And I get on Twitter, and the first tweet I see is it says, it might have been Sickos Committee. It said, it said, "It's a college football thing you wouldn't understand." And it was a picture of the Cheez-It Bowl mascot, the Pop-Tart,
Duke's
Mayo, and
something else.
I don't remember what the other one was. So I text Mallory at 5:56, and I said, "Hey,
the potato."
Oh, and the potato, yeah, from the Idaho Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Hey, do you have your selfie with Blade? Can you send that to me?" Now, most of you who listen to the show probably know Blade is the mascot.
I actually have a picture of the tweet here.
Oh, yes.
If you can see that.
Yeah, Blade's the mascot. So I tweeted it out and said, it's a Texas high school football thing. You wouldn't understand. And so you said that you thought I was literally texting you like, hey, it just happened, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, I was asking her for a picture of her with Blade.
And I'm sitting there, I hear my phone go off, and the only person that I told about the engagement were to my mom and my dad.
Yeah.
Because I was at home. And obviously I'm telling my mother.
Yes.
And I hear my phone go off because I had that on the loudest
which she
volume.
never does.
Never.
I don't think
Never.
that phone has ever been on loud ever.
No, because I just don't like hearing. Like,
which is why I thought it was
I just
weird
like
that
the
she
buzz. Yeah.
responded so fast.
Right.
Like you instantly responded with Blade, and I was like, why is she on her phone right now?
So I hear it go off, and my mom looks at me and she goes, "Did it happen?" And I was like, "She just asked me for my selfie with Blade." The symmetry piece of grass that we love. We do love him.
We do love Blade.
But why is she asking me this? She's about to get engaged. And so, anyways, I was a little disappointed because I was like, is he just not going to do it? But then a few minutes later, you FaceTimed me, and then I knew instantly what that was about.
Yeah,
and
so it took about 0.2 seconds of Mallory answered. She just started screaming. And then I hear, and it was your mom, Rhonda, running down the stairs, and then she just shoves her face into the camera. She's like, "Let me see."
Well, the funniest part, too, about that FaceTime is that you held up your hand and you were like, "Look, it happened." And I was like, "I know it happened.
Yeah.
That's why I haven't been talking to you for a whole week."
And I was like, "Oh."
You're like, "Oh,
that
she actually
makes
doesn't
more
hate me."
sense. I was like, good. I couldn't figure out what I did.
No, but
well, thank you for all your help.
Yes.
It was great.
Congratulations.
He did a great job.
The ring is gorgeous. I think you need to flash it one more time for the people.
He did a fantastic job.
So beautiful.
It is great.
I love it so much. So happy for the both of you. You guys are
Thank you.
obviously very important in my life and do so much for me. So I'm glad I could help in this small little occasion and help make it a little special.
2 days later, you had your quarter life crisis.
Well, that's why you kept asking me what we were doing for my birthday, and I was like, that's not important.
Right.
Obviously, I didn't tell. Like, I was just like, I don't care about that. I care about what's happening first. But yeah, I turned 25, so
yeah, it was
a very filled break.
Whirlwind of a month of a Christmas break.
Yeah, and then you, I got to see you MC the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
Great game there.
Uh-huh.
So in the New Year's Eve, we just did so much. Like, it just all happened within the span of 3 days.
Yeah, I'm tired. Like
4 days.
I'm
actually,
tired
yeah.
from a break.
Yes, exactly. I am too. But it was a great break nonetheless. Good way to send off 2023 and enter 2024 with lots of happiness and joy.
And good juju.
In our lives. And good juju. Yes, of course.
And you're halfway to 50, so that rocked too.
Shut up.
It's okay. I'm over halfway to 50. So
yeah, you're over. I get to tweet at you when you actually turn 50 first.
Yeah,
so
that does suck. Oh,
Shmael's almost there.
If Twitter's still around by the time I'm 50, something went way not according to plan.
It's going to be called something else, I'm sure, at that point. But anyways, let's actually get to some football because we, of course, are women talking football. Yeah, the UIL State Championships also happened in December. It feels like they happened so long ago, but it was only realistically a couple weeks ago. So let's go ahead and take a look back at some of those scores. Some of them surprising, some of them not. I put these in order of the time that the actual game started. Did not put them from smallest to largest. I put them because, of course, Division I went first this year. So, of course, in 1A Division I, Gordon takes home the crown there over Westbrook 70-20, which is, I think, shocked a lot of people because a lot of people, especially here, picked Westbrook to win, to go back-to-back.
Yeah, that Gordon defense, I mean, we talked about that being the best, like, statistically. Statistically, it's the best six-man defense of all time. I mean, coming into that game, they were averaging only allowing 8 points per game, and that's in six-man football. So we knew the defense was good. I just didn't know if the Gordon offense could keep up with the Westbrook offense. But, man, that defense was all that they needed. I mean, they just absolutely torched them. It was never close.
No, I bet you that is probably the lowest scoring game that Westbrook had performed all season.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So super, super impressive showing by the Gordon defense. And of course, Riley and Striker Reed were incredible on the offensive side of the ball, able to put up 70 points. I mean, that's insane. And that game, of course, was 45-2.
Yes.
In the third quarter.
Yeah, both six-man
games were actually down there. Of course, Benjamin taking home the crown for 1A Division II over Oglesby. This one, not so much a surprise.
No, but at least it was close for a while. I mean, this one was close until about halfway through the second quarter.
Yeah, I think so too. Oglesby, Kyler Fawcett played incredible. He's their standout guy there. And what we really talked about up in the booth is that, of course, Grayson Rigdon is the star for Benjamin. He had 7 touchdowns in that game, making it, I think, 17 in total for state championship games. Because, of course, he won last year at Benjamin and then won at Strawn there before. So he has scored 17 touchdowns alone in state championship games.
That's wild. And
what
then
kind of a stat is that?
2-time MVP at Strawn.
Yes.
He was the singular one and the singular one. So in his junior year, he is a 4-time state MVP.
Literally insane.
Yeah.
But really, Kyler Fawcett, I felt like, was the only guy all season that could really go toe-to-toe with
no,
Grayson
he did.
Rigdon.
He did. And that's why it was close for a little while. It
Yeah.
wasn't until the second half that Benjamin really turned on the Jets, which, I mean, is better than anybody else has done against him all year long. Fawcett was fantastic.
Yes.
Especially in that first quarter. Those two going at each other was really, really fun.
Yes. And then to cap the night off for 2A Division I, Timpson absolutely bludgeoning Toller 49-7 to take home their first state title. And of course, yes, the story here is Terry Bussey, the athlete committed to Texas A&M, Mr. Texas football last year, former Mr. Texas football. But man, how about that defense?
Yeah.
How about that defense holding Toller's high-powered and massive, just physically big defense, especially up front, to 7 points.
Yeah, I mean, we talked so much going into that
excuse me.
game about Toller with Peyton Brown on the outside, like Isaiah Blessing.
Isaac Blessing, their quarterback,
They're just threats. You know, there was really big body, and we didn't know if Timpson was going to be big enough in the defense to be able to stop him. Yes, that's correct. I said that the right way.
Yes,
I had to stop and think about that for a second. But it was all Timpson.
Yes.
All Timpson the entire time. They locked down Peyton Brown. I mean, he barely had any productivity that entire game.
Yeah, well, and you can say the same thing for Isaac Blessing, too. I mean, they made him look so uncomfortable in the pocket. They held him to 71 passing yards all night long, which is just impressive because that guy can fling it. I mean, we saw it against when they played Marlin. But yeah, very, very impressive showing by Terry Bussey in the Timpson Bears. They take home their first title.
Well, and it was cool
program
too.
history.
I mean, it was just so cool to see Terry cap off a career like that. We've been
it
talking
was
about
supposed
him.
to end like that.
Yeah,
you know?
we've been talking about him for so long. Will they finally do it? Will he finally get it done? Like his last game as a Bear to go out on top finally with that state championship. That was, especially if y'all have read Carter's story about like Terry's life and all that he's been through. That makes it even that much cooler.
Right.
Heard nothing but great things about that kid, and we're excited to watch him.
Absolutely. And then starting off the day on Thursday, it was the 2A Division II state championship. Yeah, correct. 2A Division II state championship. Albany goes back-to-back, taking down the Mart Panthers 28-10. And I don't know how you felt about this game, but I felt like the real turning point to me, I felt like Albany was pretty much in full control of this game the entire time. They knew what they were doing. They had this Mart team on lock. But I felt like the turning point to me was in the first half. There was about 3 minutes left in the second quarter. Mart had the ball. They were down 7-3, and Mart's quarterback lost control. Albany recovered, and then they scored 2 plays later. That, to me, felt like a vibe turning point because Mart came back in the second half at one point, and they brought it a little bit closer. I don't remember exactly what the score was, but I think they brought it within 10 or 7.
Yeah, I think it might have been 17-10.
But still, it just felt at that point that Albany was in full
Mart
control.
had a couple of key players. This takes nothing away from Albany. Let me preface that
Yes.
first. Mart had a couple of their skill players that had been battling a couple of different injuries and
yes.
stuff. So I wondered when that was said that they had some injuries. I was like, man, that plays so bad in their favor, other than just the obvious of having your guys be injured. Because Albany is so big and so physical. And that's exactly how they won this game last year, which was a lot more of a surprise. But, I mean, you watch them walk out onto the field, and it's like, oh.
Those are big boys.
Those are big boys. They're
Yes.
much bigger than Mart up front, and that's exactly what they did such a good job of doing. One was just getting in the backfield and disrupting the pass. They couldn't get anything, and then they weren't
made
going to.
him so uncomfortable.
Yeah, and their linebackers are
are
incredible. So it's like you're not going to be able to bust a whole lot of runs around them either on the edge. So Albany just straight up out physicaled Mart that entire game. And I think that's why, even though it's closer than a lot of these scores on here, it never felt like a close game because it looked like bully ball from Albany.
Right. And of course, I think running back Adam Hill looked fantastic,
God,
offensive
so
MVP.
good.
But I thought Chip Chambers, too, their quarterback, really showed out. And I feel like you talk so much about Adam Hill and the Texas Tech commit down there in Albany, but you don't talk enough about the quarterback.
Yep.
But he did so well, and he was such an impressive showing leading that team to their second straight title.
Which, by the way, Denny Faith proved us right.
He sure
we
did.
were on
Good
the
point.
bandwagon last year. I said if Denny Faith doesn't retire, he thinks that they're going back to back because he finally grabs one after 36 years. At that point, he finally gets his state title. Like, he should have ridden off into the sun.
Yeah.
But it was like he's
like,
coming back for a
we know.
37th year. He knows this team can do it.
Yes.
Like, that's the most clear sign ever. Why do you think Reggie Samples is still coaching?
Right. Exactly.
He should have left
because
after
he
the
knows
last one.
that this
but
team
he knew
is
that
scary.
they could. Spoiler alert! He knew that they were going to
Yeah.
go back to back, or had a really darn good shot to. Like,
Good point.
Don't focus on what they say. Focus on what they do.
Yes, you're so right there. That's funny. I do remember you saying that last year, and I was like, that's
like if he comes back,
you know?
then Albany's going back to back.
Yeah.
Like, there's zero doubt in my mind.
No, yeah, and then everybody picked him, and we were like, yep, we got that. In the 3A Division I state championship, definitely the first good game of the entire week. Malakoff takes the cake, 14-7. I think Ish is the only one that picked Malakoff to win this game. So
we don't shout him out on this show.
Shout out to him. But the Tigers, they win their first state title in program history. And I think the question that we had, that we definitely talked about on our state semifinal preview, is Malakoff going to be able to figure out and contain this difficult slot T offense that Franklin loves to run? And yeah, they held him to 7 points, which is by far the least amount of points that Franklin has scored this entire season by like 3 or 4 scores.
Yeah, they did so good. They
good
did
Lord.
and it's funny because going into that game, Malakoff's defense, their strength was always their defensive backs.
Right.
Mike Jones, the quarterback, is back there at an unbelievable defensive back, and so it was how well was the line going to play, and they just absolutely shut down Jaden Jackson. They shut down anything, and they made Franklin so uncomfortable that Franklin tried throwing the ball in crucial moments. Now they had opened up their slot T a little bit more this year as a whole, but I was shocked.
That's not like how they like to play. Yeah.
The play call at the end of the game when they were going to they got the first down and they tried to throw it on first down. I was shocked by that play call because I was like, what are you doing? You don't have time for 3 more throwing plays.
No.
Get one good run, spike the ball, and then maybe try to throw. I was shocked by that, but that takes nothing away from the fact that Malakoff played an unbelievable game. And something that's so cool about that, I felt like going into that game, we talked so much about Mark Fannin from Franklin. This is his 4th year as a head coach, and he's made it to the state championships every single year. On the other side of that, what a cool moment for Jamie Driscoll and their squad.
Yes.
They had the heartbreaking loss to Grandview in 2018. Then Jamie Driscoll, I don't know if you know this, he played for a state championship in high school and
Did he
had
really?
lost. So he played for one, lost, coached for one, lost.
And now he
finally got
gets
it.
the taste of it.
If you go back and look at what Malakoff was before he got there, they hadn't been to the playoffs since like 2002 or so, and now he's never missed the playoffs. Like, I mean, he has truly turned that program around, and to see someone like Mark Fannin who walks in and goes to the state championship every single year, which is just mind-boggling in and of itself, to then see someone that's been to this stage so many times and never able to get it done, that crazy. It was awesome.
I feel like we should have had an inkling that Malakoff was going to play Franklin tough, because I felt like Franklin and Brock were very stylistically, they're very similar. They're both very big and very physical, and Malakoff handled Brock pretty easily. Not easily, but they took care of Brock. In the state semifinal. And so I felt like maybe we should have seen this coming a little bit more, because I think a lot of us did write off Malakoff just playoff pedigree, because Franklin is used to being here. They know how to win. Mark Fannin, like you said, is an unbelievable coach. Maybe we should have put more stock. Obviously, we should have put more stock into Malakoff after seeing them, bully Brock, a team that's very similar to Franklin. But congratulations to the Tigers and Coach Driscoll there, their first state title in program history. And then to round out that day, the Thursday, 3A Division II, Gunner. This one was also sneaky good, too. Gunner takes care of Tidehaven 30-14.
This was close at the half.
At the half, it was very close.
Tidehaven might have been leading at the half.
No, I looked this up.
They scored right before the half. I do know that.
Yes. I can't remember exactly what the score was at the half, but it was it was maybe like a one score, even less than that. But man, I think we were a little bit nervous. I would say that. But I don't think anybody wrote off Gunner. I figured that Gunner was going to do Gunner things with Walker Overman, and that's exactly what they did in the second half. They rattled off like 2 more touchdowns, and then they shut out Tidehaven in the second half, because both of those scores from Tidehaven came from their running back, Joseph Dodds, the Baylor commit. He's phenomenal, by the way. He's huge, phenomenal. That was pretty much all that Tidehaven had to offer. And Gunner figured out how to stop them in the second half. They came out and they rattled off 2 straight touchdowns to win the game.
Right. Well, and that was just the biggest question. Gunner hadn't played a fourth quarter.
Right.
All year long, Gunner had not played a fourth quarter, because even in a game like their semifinal against Canadian, where we thought it might be a game in the fourth quarter, kind of was, but you could tell Gunner was pulling away very quickly into the fourth quarter. And so that's, they really hadn't even played a second half, much like the Canadian one was really the only one. Tidehaven, on the other side, had 2 of their last 3 games go into overtime. They won in overtime to keep advancing to the state championships, including the state semifinal game.
Right.
So it was like, that's a team that knew how to fight, not even to the end of the clock, but to extra time.
Right,
and
exactly.
So it was like, okay, this is a team that is perfectly fine being in this position right now. And then there's a team that we didn't know if they were going to be fine being in that position. And then, Walker Overman turned it on. Really fun Gunner team to watch all year long, but a massive credit to Tidehaven, because they played Gunner better than anyone has in the first half. Yeah,
absolutely. And Carter put out a piece, too, not too long ago about how this is probably if not one, the best Gunner team that they have had in the history
there's arguments for, I
the
think,
program.
their 2016 or 2019
team was pretty good too.
But no, I think hard stop between that and Cannon Lindbergh, and just that they've got so much talent on that team, and it was cool.
They're fun to watch.
Yeah, they were
pissed off, and we love watching that offense. But they come home with their second straight title.
I had it was great. There was a Tidehaven. So I was on the set for Bally that day, and we were down on the sideline of AT&T Stadium, real close to like one section of the stands. There was a Tidehaven fan. And most of the time, like, don't just continuously scream at people when they're trying to do their job,
Nope.
This guy was actually really funny. Like, he did it in a very kind-hearted way. And so I looked up at him at one point, and I said, "Prove me wrong, then. Prove me wrong." And he points out, he goes, like he was excited. I finally responded. So if you're going to poke fun at people, do it in a polite way. And then after that, he quit. He just wanted to get my attention.
Right,
so
right. Well,
it was actually pretty funny. I enjoyed that encounter. There were some encounters I did not enjoy. That one I did.
Yes, there's always a couple of those encounters that you know. But all right, let's move on to Friday of the UIL State Championships. And starting off in 4A Division 1, man. This one was just jarring. I mean, like we talked about earlier with Albany being in full control, Anna, even more so than Albany in that game, was in absolute full control from start to finish in this game over Chapel Hill. This Chapel Hill offense, which I've been praising all year. You've been praising them all year because they're a Texan Live school, so we watch a lot of Chapel Hill games. Demetrius, the SMU commits, and Demetrius Brisbane and Ricky Stewart, I mean, that's their offense, right? They are such a good dynamic duo, and they couldn't do anything against Anna. Anna shut them down. Absolutely shut them down.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was jarring is probably, I agree with you. That's probably the best way to put it. Because we thought, too, once it got to halftime, and I think Anna was up, 21-0 at half?
Yeah, I think it was 24-0 at
24-0.
half. Yeah, maybe something like that. I don't know. I thought they got some kind of defensive stuff. I don't know, but anyways.
We thought that, okay, it's only a matter of time until Ricky or Demetrius, maybe not both of them. It doesn't have to be both of them. It would be great if it was both of them, but we were like, at some point, that's got to come online, right? Like, the machine has to turn on.
Right.
Never did. A huge, huge, huge credit to Anna, and how cool for that program and that fan base. That's not a school like Shadow Creek that's been around for a couple of years and they get one and it's like, okay, awesome.
Yeah.
This is a program that's been around for a long time. Like a long time.
And what Coach Parr has been able to do in his first 3 seasons in that program has been absolutely impressive. 35-4 in his first 3 seasons at this program. And they hadn't won a district title since 1981. So what this man has been able to do in 3 short years, completely turn this program around and win a state championship, obviously for the first time in program history,
right,
is unbelievably impressive.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I saw this stat too real quick before we move on. I think Craven wrote the ender or the gamer for this story, and it said the Coyotes scored more points in the first half, 26. So I guess they scored. I guess
there was no score.
There was no scoring in the second half.
Right.
Yeah. Then Chapel Hill had yards in that span. They had 19 yards.
Jeez.
So if that doesn't tell you how dominating this Anna team was, I don't know.
That was kind of crazy because Chapel Hill's defense, I mean, honestly, to hold a high-powered offense like Anna's to only 26 points, they held them scoreless in the second half.
Exactly.
It was a fairly decent showing by the Chapel Hill defense. The offense just couldn't get anything going.
Right. So congratulations to the Coyotes. They bring home their first state title in program history. In 4A Division II, the Gilmer Buckeyes, how about that, upset the Belleville Brahmas 28-26. And man, this was probably, would you say this is probably the only upset of the week?
I don't even know if it would be considered an upset, honestly.
You don't think it would be considered? I think Belleville was at least a 14-point favorite over Gilmer.
Really?
And the computer had him as 14-point favorites.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize
over Gilmer.
that.
Yeah. But man, what a showing.
I just feel like when you get to this point, nothing's an upset. Like,
yeah, that's a good point.
I just I have a hard time using the word upset. Yeah,
right.
Unless it's an
Alito or like
okay, you're correct. If Smithson Valley would have beat Alito, that would have been an upset.
Yes.
But that's because of championship pedigree, not necessarily because Smithson Valley's not a good team, you know.
Right. I think a lot of us picked Belleville to win this game.
You picked Gilmer. You were the only one.
Yes.
Because you got invited to the parade.
I did.
Something.
Those are my Gilmer Buckeyes now.
Yes, correct.
I have claimed a new team. And I'll tell you the reason I picked Gilmer is that offensively they've been phenomenal this whole year. Obviously, questions about the defense came. Could they even stop this high-powered, big Belleville offense, right? I picked them because the past 3 games that they had played leading up to the state championships were, in our computer, they were underdogs. Beat Carthage, which was kind of, to me, I was like, after that, I was like, oh man, this team probably is going to win it all. And then they go on to beat Glen Rose, which is another crazy team. And then, of course, Belleville. So it's like, I kind of had at that point, like, I was like, they beat the 2. Honestly, I thought Carthage was the best team in 4A Division 2. So they get past them. I didn't think anybody was going to stop them. So that was my reasoning behind picking Gilmer over Belleville.
Did Gilmer Yeah, they did beat Carthage because Carthage beat Pleasant Grove. Okay, I had to stop and think about that. I was like, Carthage beat Pleasant Grove and then went to play Gilmer, and that's when Gilmer won. Okay,
yes. So
I was doing the math in my head there. I was like, hang on.
Yeah. But really, really awesome showing by the Gilmer Buckeyes. I was down on the field after this game, and there were a couple coaches that came up to me. They were like, hey, good pick. And I was like, hey, thanks. Go Buckeyes.
Yeah. The thing that I was most impressed with was the Gilmer offensive line.
Yeah.
Because they were going up against a monster in DJ Sanders up front.
Oh,
I mean,
God, he's so huge.
Yeah, we've talked about it. Big old number 99. He had 17 sacks on the year.
Yeah.
Well, going into the game, he had 17 sacks on the year as an interior lineman. Like, that's insane stuff.
Yeah.
And Caden Tennyson did so good. I was genuinely so impressed with him. And it's funny because obviously I talked about it on Bally later that day, but I said he got to watch his older brother on this stage. Mm-hmm. He has been in this program for a long time. He understands what he's doing. But yeah, the Gilmer offense just let him have it. I was just really, really, really impressed by the offensive side of the trenches for Gilmer, because to hold off a Belleville team like that and allow Caden Tennyson to have enough time to be able to throw the ball down the field was just it was really an impressive showing.
Right. Well, in a team that we thought that was going to struggle defensively against a slot T team, they held him to the least amount of points they'd scored all season too.
Yep.
So I mean, yeah, overall great showing by the Gilmer Buckeyes. They are now one of my teams, so I'll be following them for the rest of forever.
Yes.
I think.
I think that was the game that some guy commented and said, "Well, the chick said it was going to be low scoring," and I was like,
"Oh,
yeah." It is.
It is. That's low scoring for both teams.
Gilmer was averaging like 52 points
know.
a game, and Belleville was averaging like 45 or something like that. I was like, yeah, I'd say 28 to 26 is kind of a low-scoring game.
Right,
You
exactly.
doofus.
They don't know anything. No
So
people.
dumb.
They don't know anything. Don't listen to the haters.
So dumb.
Put your blinders on. And
So
keep
dumb.
moving.
That was the one that got me.
Yeah, I feel that. Oh, I know. I see your face right now. But anyways, to cap off Friday night, 5A Division I, Aledo,
That was
51,
just a whomping.
Smithson Valley.
What a
8.
weird game too. Smithson Valley went up like 8-0.
Well, and here's the thing too; those aren't touchdowns. That's a safety because they got a safety first and then two field goals.
And one of the field goal looked like a boomerang, like it was gonna like completely miss. It was the wildest start to a game, and then Aledo got online. And Haas Haney was outstanding.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Haas
He was.
Haney was.
Hawk Patrick Daniels was too. I think he won offensive MVP in that game. But just, I mean, once their offense got rolling, it took them a little bit, like you said. And I don't remember who I was talking to. It might have been Tepper, but he was like, Smithson Valley was up 8-0 over Aledo at this point in the first quarter, and he was like, "This gives off huge like Carthage Gilmer 2020. Oh, maybe it was 2020 vibes when Gilmer went up 14-0 and Carthage rattled off 70 straight, which is exactly what Aledo did. They just had to wake up a little bit and be like, "Oh yeah, we're here again for the 11th time."
Yeah.
So they win
12th.
their 11th. Yeah, this is their 11th. Yeah, maybe so. I don't know, but I know this is their 11th title in program history.
Okay.
So. Congrats to the Aledo Bearcats. We'll probably be seeing you there again.
Yes.
If I had to guess. Which is really impressive. I mean, Robbie Jones takes over that program after Coach Buck, and it's like you can still continue to do that, which to me is very, very impressive. So, and then to start off
that was their
Saturday.
12th. That's what I thought. It was their 12th state championship. Like they've won 12.
They've won 12. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Gotcha.
I want to make sure that we got
It was
that
11
right
it
before
was
we
11
had
in the
pitchforks coming
Correct.
for us out of Aledo.
Yes, it was 12 in the last 15 years.
Yes.
That's what it was, correct. And then to close out the weekend on Saturday, it was South Dallas Saturday. 5A Division II starting off the morning. This was really good game. Woke us all up. Port Neches Groves takes the cake. They get revenge. 20-17 over South Oak Cliff. And I don't want to take anything away from PNG. I think they played fantastic. But the funniest part to me about this game was that South Oak Cliff's red zone defense was so good. They gave the offensive MVP to the kicker, PNG's kicker.
Which deserved it. He set a he set a 5A state championship record with 4 made field goals.
Yes. Yeah, I know. That to me, that it's very fitting.
Yep.
Like, take it as you will. What got South Oak Cliff, in my opinion, they've got the playmakers all over the field. They have had the playmakers for years now. It's those dang penalties, man. It's those dang penalties that PNG was able to take advantage of and turn those into points.
See, for me, the turning point in the game and it was the coaching mastermind by Jeff Joseph, because they kicked a field goal first off, they went for PNG's driving down the field. They get about to the 50 and they go or like the 40, probably the 40. They go for it on fourth down. They convert. 3 plays later, they convert another first down, and then 3 plays later, they're trying to sit there and go for another fourth down. And we're going, okay, are they going to do that, or are they going to kick a field goal? They went for the field goal, and it was like, okay, that's weird, because that was an even smaller, like, yardage distance than it was the first time, and it worked. So why aren't you going to go for it again? Like, keep pushing it. You need the points in a low-scoring affair like this. They went ahead and they opted to kick the field goal, and it was like, okay. And then it was the onside kick. Onside kick after the thing. That was the difference in the game.
Yeah,
it was
you're right.
A coaching mastermind to go for the onside kick, oddly in like the second or third quarter when no one was expecting it. So he got 3 points out of it, and then turned around and converted it into 7 because they got the onside kick.
Right.
That right there was the difference of the game.
Yeah.
Just a master class coaching.
Absolutely. I mean, and you're right.
Jason Todd had a great coaching game too.
Yes.
But it took
absolutely.
that one decision right there to go for it, or to kick the field goal instead of go for it.
Yes. It was an unbelievable game. I mean, absolutely fantastic. Very, very entertaining. I mean, it got heated too. I mean, like you could tell just the passion on the field. I mean, like PNG obviously wanted revenge, and Sauk wanted to go back to back, and it turned out to be a fantastic game to start off the Saturday slate.
It shows how hard it is to win a three-peat.
Oh,
because Sauk's going for it. Franklin was going for it.
You're so right. That's a good point. It's it's really tough, especially when you're playing the same team twice, and And then the middle game on Saturday. Wasn't the best. 6A Division I, Duncanville goes back-to-back with a win over North Shore, 49-33. I really felt confident in Duncanville going to this game. I picked Duncanville. You picked Duncanville.
I did too.
I just felt like, man, this Duncanville team is, in my opinion, one of the most stacked on both sides of the ball in terms of playmakers that this Duncanville team has ever had.
Oh, it was insane. And so many people are going to focus on what Caden Durham did right out of the gate, which obviously,
3
rightfully
touchdowns
so.
in the first half.
I was most impressed with Keelan Russell, the Duncanville quarterback, because Caden Durham did exactly what he needed to do. They got a huge lead very early, and then Keelan Russell just got to have fun in the second half. Man, he was letting that ball sail to Decorian Moore. It wasn't a great game at all, but man, it was fun to watch.
Well, and then to that point too, I think we all knew going into this game that one of the key matchups of this game was, of course, going to be Duncanville's defensive line with Colin Simmons up against Galena Park North Shore's offensive line. But we also talked a lot about Duncanville's wide receiver core going up against this really stout Galena Park North Shore secondary with Devin Sanchez. So that Decorian Moore Devin Sanchez matchup was fun. Really, really fun. Both 5 stars, both really, really good at what they do.
That's why watching Keelan Russell just drop dimes to him was just impressive.
Very impressive.
I was like, I know that Decorian Moore can get up and get those, but he is going against Devin Sanchez. So yeah, it was that one. Yeah, that one was fun if you like offense.
Yep, absolutely. So
it
Duncanville
lasted like 8 years.
I felt like it did too.
I mean, super high scoring considering you look at the rest of it, and it's like that's not both. There's not a game where both teams scored that many points. It was a high scoring affair, and it took so long. Well, and we had the really scary targeting call at one point.
Right.
So there was a kid. There was an athlete that had what looked like scary head trauma. Ended up, thank goodness, not being that. But we had to stop for a long time. Yeah. Rightfully so, as they should have, to make sure everyone was okay.
Right. And I feel like, too, both coaches used every single one of their timeouts at one point, too, in the first and the second half. So, yeah, it was a long game, but it was a good one. It's always fun to see Duncanville North Shore. I mean, just for, like, the sheer athleticism that both teams possess every single year. And then to cap it all off, we get this banger.
Man, this
6A Division II
stinker.
DeSoto 74, Summer Creek 14.
If you're a DeSoto fan, this was the best game of your life. If you are anybody else, this was just a a sad way to cap off what was such a great weekend. And again, congratulations to Claude Mathis and DeSoto. It was just boring. I'm sure Claude is perfectly happy having a very boring game.
That means he won.
Exactly.
Because if it's not boring, you're not winning, right?
One thing of note, it was cool to see that both 6A title games was a team out of 11 6A and a team out of 21 6A.
Oh, yeah,
both
that's
ones,
true.
North Shore and Summer Creek, and then Duncanville and DeSoto. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. And then to that point, too, I mean, of course, DeSoto and Duncanville played earlier in the year. I think DeSoto is clearly the best team in Texas across all classifications. That team, I mean, the playmakers that they have now and the playmakers that they have coming back, that's a fun team to watch.
It's insane. And yeah, like the second best team you would say is Duncanville, and they beat them. So it's like there is no leaving any sort of doubt that DeSoto would have beat anybody. Now, if you put 9 times out of 10, someone might trip them up, but I would say I would be shocked if 10 times out of 10 Duncan or DeSoto wasn't winning.
Yeah, no, totally agree. So there you go. All of the UIL State final scores there. What a fun week. It always is a fun week. That is definitely the event that we cover most extensively here at Dave Campbell's Texas Football. We're all doing different jobs. You're talking on a microphone. I'm talking on a microphone. People are writing. You're
attempting to talk on the microphone.
Sure. Yeah.
Val had some voice issues.
Yeah, you had to step in for me a couple times because I emceed. We both emceed the event. You did it the first day. I did it the following days, and then on the very last day, my voice still is not great. But on the very last day,
to go out, so we're doing great over here.
You had to step in for me because there was one hit that I did in the second game, the last hit of the second game, where I don't think you can understand what I was saying.
Absolutely.
And I was trying so hard to yell, which made it even worse. And then, so thank you for doing that. I really, really appreciate that. I must have consumed 80 cough drops that week.
Yeah.
So my stomach hurt for a little bit. But nonetheless, it was a great week. Always love UIL State. We love our friends at the UIL as well. They always put on such a great event for us. All right, before we close out, let's take a look at all of the college bowls. All Texas teams that were in. There were 6 bowl games. 7 Texas teams got to compete for a bowl game. So let's run through some of these real quick. In the Independence Bowl, Texas Tech takes home the crown 34-14. I think this was a great showing for the Red Raiders. I'm not quite sure how much you can take from this game. Offensively, I think they looked really great. Baron Morton got the passing game going, threw to 3, 4, 5 different receivers, 3 of which had touchdowns. Of course, Taj Brooks had a touchdown on the ground as well. And then defensively, they did really well. They held probably Cal's best player in Jaden Ott to just 45 yards off 16 carries. So really great dominant showing by the Red Raiders there. And I think you'll agree with this too. We talked a lot about this on ROF yesterday, is that bowl games are just kind of what you make of it. You know, outside of now the 12-team playoff next year is going to make that a little bit more exciting. But outside of the semifinals and obviously the national championship, bowl games are what you make of it. You know, you either have a ton of players opt out or you keep all your players like Joey McGuire did for the Red Raiders, and you have fun with it and you win. You know?
Yeah, it just shows how much you care to be there.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
That's genuinely what it is. Like, I mean, we'll get there in a second, but like, I feel like that's a Boston College SMU thing.
Oh yeah, oh absolutely. That
they were not happy about the Fenway Bowl, rightfully so. Right. But Texas Tech was very excited to go out there and get another win, and they got it. That's 110% what bowl games are.
Yes.
Who wants to be there more? Right.
And then in the Frisco Bowl, UTSA takes home their first crown in a bowl game in program history, I believe, definitely under Chuff Traylor, over Marshall, 35-17. Now, going in this game, I really thought that obviously we found out Frank Harris was not going to start at quarterback, which is kind of disappointing because I wanted to see him him and Jeff Traylor, one last time before Harris moves on. Yeah, moves on
is
and
not a player
graduates
for the first time since 2012.
Exactly. I thought Eddie Lee Marburger was going to get the start, and then all of a sudden, here comes Owen McCown. He threw like 2 picks in the first quarter, and then other than that, he had a really, really good showing. So this game, to me, what you can take away from it is that Jeff Traylor knows how to build a program because you've got a lot of guys coming back, like Devin McEwen, Kavorian Barnes, Rocco Griffin, all probably coming back. You've got Owen McCown, who's probably going to compete for a starting spot against Eddie Lee Marburger. So you've got competition there. You've got a good game or a good team coming back for the Roadrunners next year. So what I think you can take away from that is that, yeah, you played your third string quarterback probably, and you come out with a pretty dominant win over a pretty good Marshall team. So good showing for the UTSA Roadrunners there. They take home, again, their first bowl win, I believe, in program history. Definitely under Jeff Schrader, but in the Frisco Bowl. Moving right along to the First Responders Bowl. Texas, unfortunately, just kidding. The Fighting Schmales take home the cake there over the Hoot Hoot Rice Owls, 45-21. This one to me, like the vibes were just Rice accomplished what they wanted to accomplish. Mm-hmm. They got to 6 wins.
And they made it to a bowl game.
Made it to a bowl game. That was their Super Bowl, right? Yep. Didn't have that great of a showing. Granted, they didn't have their starting quarterback, JT Daniels. AJ Padgett filled that role for him. But on the other side of that, it felt like to me, Texas State, they saw that as their Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah. They had never won. They had never been to a bowl game before.
No.
That's their first bowl game in history. That's why they sold the stadium out of beer.
That's why they sold the stadium out of beer. And they had a great showing, too. I mean, a lot of fans traveled to that game, I guess on both sides, too, is what Ish said. But, again, a really dominant showing by Texas State. I know a lot of their players are coming back for next season, too. So, really excited to see them do that in their first year under head coach G.J. Kinney. What he's been able to do with that program this year has been super, super fun to watch.
That was another really long game. Because it was really close at the end of the first half.
Right.
And then Texas State pulled out.
Yeah.
It was, but God, that thing lasted forever.
It felt like it did too, yeah. In the Texas Bowl, Oklahoma State 31, Texas A&M 23. I'm not talking very much about this game because there is literally nothing you can take from the Texas A&M side because they had
quarterback.
Right, injuries on top of like 80 players entering the transfer portal beforehand. None of those guys were really their starters. I mean, either injury or they left. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I mean, you kept it close against a pretty good Oklahoma State team. Shout out Ollie Gordon, by the way.
I was just
love
say,
Ollie Gordon.
Trinity's very own.
Trinity's very own, who is the Doak Walker Award winner, by the way.
Good for Ollie.
So, yeah, I mean, their starting quarterback, Jalen Henderson, gets hurt on the first play. Marcel Reed comes in. He's a freshman. Actually did really, really well. He threw for 361 yards, so that's kind of a bright spot if you're a Texas A&M fan.
Yeah.
And then, our Mr. Texas Football, DJ Lagway, accepted his award at that Texas Bowl game,
which
presented by our very own Rudy Klinik. So that's something you can take away from the game. So take it as you will. Bowl games are what you make it. In the Fenway Bowl, like you mentioned, Boston College 23, SMU 14. It's just one of those games. It's like you can't really take much from it. I mean,
no, they had an unbelievable season.
Oh gosh, yeah, absolutely.
Don't look
unbelievable
at that score.
Season.
Like,
they won the conference. I mean, a really tough competition. But also, this game was in the middle of a work week.
Did they win
10 a.m.
Tulane?
SMU won.
They did.
They won the conference. Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
But again, like it's kind of one of those things. Bowl games are what you make it, right? So it's like middle of the work week, 10 a.m. kick. It was cold. It was rainy. It was a baseball stadium. The vibes were probably kind of weird.
Yeah.
We talked about it a little bit on ROF yesterday. I think that it may have been a good showing to beat a future conference opponent because SMU is moving to the ACC. Mm-hmm. But again, they're on their second string quarterback too.
Yeah.
Kevin Jennings is a great quarterback. I really do. But Preston Stone's their guy. And of course, he got hurt early on in the season. So again, not much you can take from this game other than that, SMU, you had a fantastic season. You bring in a ton of transfers next year. Super excited to see what you do next year. And then to round it all out with kind of a depressing one, the Sugar Bowl, college football playoff semifinal. Washington defeats Texas 37-31. Man, I picked Washington to win this game for one reason and one reason only, and that was because I felt like the matchup to watch was going to be obviously Washington's receivers and Texas' secondary. And Texas' secondary is one of their weakest units on the defense. So it was going to be how well can those DBs step up to try and stop these NFL caliber wide receivers that Penix was throwing to all night. And the question was, I mean, They really couldn't. And a lot of the credit to the receivers, and not so much a knock on Texas's secondary. There were a couple times where these Texas DBs would make great plays. I mean, they tipped the ball. But these Washington receivers are so good. One of them being Jalen Polk, shout out Lufkin, Texas. It was Malik Muhammad goes up for the tip to make the play, and it just so happened that Jalen Polk was able to grab it after that and still make the play for Washington. So again, not really a knock on the secondary. It just shows how good this Washington team is.
And this was funny because it wasn't a very fun game to watch most of the entire time until it was. And then it was like the last 30 seconds were a blast. I was really, really still confused about the play call to like the little bubble route.
It was the second to last play, the little fade that Quinn threw in the end zone. Yeah.
No, not in the end zone. The one before that. That was just little bubble route.
Yeah, that was
out.
strange. And then I think the fade too in the end zone that was way over the head.
That wasn't a bad play call at all. That was
just a bad throw, I think, on Quinn's part. But yeah, I know what you mean. It was the
first play call was terrible.
Yeah.
Just terrible. I don't understand what in the world Sark was thinking that was going to work with a little screen pass right there. The fade was fine. Quinn just way overthrew it.
Yeah, and we talked about it on ROF too. There was a lot of games where we felt like Sark was pulling out all the tricks in his trick bag, right? Like he's running all these, he's running Wildcat, just a lot of these complicated plays, and then we just didn't feel like he dove deep enough in this game.
Because in the crucial moments that he needed to dig, he didn't.
Exactly. Texas came close. Don't worry, Texas is still back. I'm sure they'll be fantastic next year with all the transfers and the commits that they have coming in. But yeah, Washington moves on to play Michigan in the national championship. So go Huskies all day and all night. They're cuter than Wolverines. So that's the only reason.
You're just a Michigan State fan.
Yeah. Well, I got to cheer for somebody, right? Can't cheer for my own team because they ain't doing nothing. So anyways, what a December it's been, man. I'm exhausted. A lot of football. I'm sad football season's almost over, but we did our work, and it's time to relax until basketball really starts kicking up here around these parts. You got anything for the people? Anything else?
I sure don't.
Tired of talking football?
Never. But yeah, I guess we'll figure out something else to talk about. It'll all be football adjacent. It just won't be actual football.
Correct. All right, that will do it for us. It's been a great year. Happy New Year to all of you guys that have kept up with us all year long. Thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate you guys' support. We have so much fun doing the show. We couldn't do it without you guys. And with that being said, we will see you guys next Thursday at 2 p.m. to talk football around the Lone Star State.